Hello and welcome to the morning after show presented by our good friends over at betonline.ag. My name is Joshua Reimer. I am joined by none other than Jared Block, who's over on my right. Jared, how you doing today? How was your Monday?
Solid Monday. I'm finally, I think today is the day that I actually am not sick anymore. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, no, it's a grind as always. It's technically 9 days now until the MLB season. So while we like to think that we have days off here and there, we're not going to have any days off until the start of the season tomorrow, which basically means we're working till Labor Day.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm down with it. If there is MLB involved, then I am good to work as long as possible. 9 days, like you said, and we got salaries last night, at least over on FanDuel, and found out that we're gonna have a full day slate on opening day, which I don't think there's any better way to kick off opening day than having this full day slate because you and I were going back and forth saying, well, it could be a main slate with the last three games on the slate that start at like 7. It could be, something that starts at 4 in the middle of the day and then they have an early only. But FanDuel made the right move, and FanDuel made the right move for sure in making it a full day slate.
Yes, they did. I just went to go check live to see if DraftKings had updated anything yet, and they did not, which is kind of strange. But you
It's
know what?
weird.
We'll take the FanDuel W right now.
No.
Maybe DraftKings is going to go one step forward and say, "Hey, we're removing the catcher spot. You can only play DHs there." That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
that would be cool. Or just give me a util spot, man. That's
Yeah,
all I
there you go.
ask for, DraftKings. Just give me a util spot. Bacon says good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good sir. Steady in the chat as well, saying good morning. What's going on? And Brian also saying good morning. Hope all three of you are doing well. We have plenty to talk about. Plenty happened yesterday. Plenty happened last night in the NBA. So without further ado, Jared, if you're ready to get into it, then I am. We can start talking about a crazy NBA slate.
Do it, man. I watched a majority of it, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts here because I know you were pretty heavy on a few players that Sean was not.
Yeah, it was an interesting night. It was Sean and I definitely had some disagreements on a few players, and I don't know who came out on top necessarily. On our bet, no one came out on top, but my guy came through. At least one guy
Yep.
that we were talking about. Um, let's talk about the slate last night. I want to start off with this Nuggets game and just want to indulge the listeners in this parlay that I had because I told
Oh
you
yeah.
about it over text, and I didn't get to. I haven't told anyone else about it except for you and the girlfriend as well because we were out grocery shopping and we were I think we're at Kroger and we're out grocery shopping and I'm not gonna say I yelled it necessarily, but I definitely said fuck out loud and said it pretty loudly in a mad tone. She was like, "What is wrong? Like, why are you being so loud?" And I was like, "I have this parlay." And it has DeJounte Murray overs in rebounds, assists, points. It was basically guaranteed to cash. All three of them ended up cashing. Had the over in Kevin Porter rebounds. That ended up cashing really easily. It was like at 4.5. He had 8 rebounds. It was the third quarter. No sweat whatsoever. Had Jokic over 13.5 rebounds. He had 19. Had Kevin Herter over 14.5 points. He had 22. And then had Jokic over 27.5 points. And Jared, he scored 26, man. He scored 26 on a parlay that had plus 6,000 odds. So I was already watching this game super closely. I was paying attention. It was on my phone. I was watching the whole fourth quarter. And, while my actual basketball takeaway is that Jokic is really, really good and can clearly lead this team against anyone that they face off against, he is that dominant. Kind of also pissed off at Jokic as well for not getting me that 2 extra points.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? I've had Joker burn me like this before too, and I can't complain at all because I played him in DFS,
No.
and like he'll smash, and like he had what 80 DraftKings points last night,
Yeah.
uh, which is insane. So you're like, I feel you hard on that one, especially because it is him, and he's probably we'll talk about it in a little bit. Should be MVP, should go back to back. We'll see how everybody else in the chat feels about that, but yeah, no, that's brutal. It's a brutal way to lose that, especially
No.
when he had a triple double and an absolute monster game. And the game's close. You can't ask for anything more. You just want, that last ceiling bucket, and he never got there. I had something similar to where like he had, I don't know, something crazy like 35 real life points and over 10 assists, and he did absolutely nothing for the entire fourth quarter, even though he was out there for 4 minutes. And I was just like, wow, okay. I guess I can't even get mad at you because you smashed, and you're
Yeah.
like the best player in the league. But you come on, just give me like 2 more rebounds, man.
Well, with this one, it was the complete opposite because, like, he did nothing in the first quarter. His first quarter line was like he had like 2 points, 4 assists, and like 5 rebounds. So I was like, oh, this is already toast if he only has 2 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
But no, he just dominated the third, did really well in the fourth, just wasn't able to get over the edge. Anyway, good win by the Nuggets, right? This Hornets team needed to pick up the win. Both of these teams are competing for playoff spots right now. Hornets obviously in that play-in situation, while the Nuggets are trying to climb their way up, right? They're in the 6th seed right now, a half of a game back from the Jazz, then 1.5 game back from the Mavericks. It was really close, man. So it's going to be interesting to see down the stretch what this Nuggets team is going to do for their next, I don't know, 8 some odd games, 8, 7, somewhere around there.
Yeah, they're in a really weird spot. They're in a spot where they basically control their own destiny. They do have to worry about the Jazz, obviously, in a head-to-head type scenario, but there's enough cushion between them and the Wolves, and then you have this Warriors team that continues to lose 3 in a row now. We'll talk about here next, but they kind of control their own destiny here, and they could get to a spot where maybe they get the 5 seed and they're able to take on. As far as who they'd want to take on, I know there's not very many great scenarios for them. But who would you rather face if you're the Nuggets? Would you take where you're at right now and take on the Jazz, where you're forced to play some of your games in Utah with that fan base, or would you rather play the Mavericks now with Luka being pretty dominant?
I'd rather play the Mavericks. Let Luka torch me all you want. All I know is that Dwight Powell is going to be trying to guard Nikola Jokic for a whole 4 quarters every night, and that doesn't sound pleasant for this Mavericks team whatsoever. He should be able to torch that matchup. So I lean towards really rather having the Mavericks. But I don't know. It's a really interesting case. And they have enough wing defenders where I feel like they can guard some of those other Mavericks secondary pieces, like Dinwiddie and like Jalen Brunson. Um,
Sure.
you don't want to go up against Rudy Gobert, though, really. Like, I feel like you should try to avoid that matchup at all costs. And it should be interesting to see, where they end up. The whole West should be interesting.
Yeah, I would agree. Do we have enough about the Nuggets? I'll just say one more thing. Do we have any actual news on Jamal Murray, or is it just going to be something that gets washed?
I think it's just something that gets washed. The last thing I saw was that he was in the G League, right? And since then, I haven't
Yep.
seen a
That
thing.
was like
So,
2 or 3 weeks ago, though, wasn't
yeah,
it?
that was a while ago. So I might have to
Yeah.
go do a little Google search here while we're talking. But I haven't seen anything recently. Should be interesting though to see when he comes back because I mean that completely changes this Nuggets team. Obviously, having Jamal Murray in the starting lineup over Monte Morris is a big difference.
It certainly is. Speaking of the Denver Nuggets, they obviously win to beat the Hornets, and the Hornets, going to be in an interesting spot. They just lost last night, which means that they are zero point 0.5 games back of the Nets. Nets officially have the 8 spot back. It's going to come down to the wire. They have the Nets do a lot of really big games this week. But so we'll keep you guys updated on that as the week progresses. Let's continue talking about some Monday night games. We did get the Knicks to beat the Bulls yesterday. My Bulls take is coming to fruition
Always,
as the
man.
season progresses. It took me like 7 months, but I think we're actually finally getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bulls, man. I don't know. There's just something fraudulent about it.
I mean, like, you got to be looking forward to this matchup the most if you're in the Eastern Conference, right? This is a Bulls team that I forget the statistic. I think you've said it on the show in recent weeks, but like, what, they're 3-13 against like teams that are playoff teams or teams that are over 500 or some silly statistic. Like, they do not look good right now. I was talking with Sean about it on the podcast, just saying like this Bulls team has had the one of the worst offensive ratings in the NBA over the past few weeks, like down there with like the Pistons. Like it's not a good look for the Bulls right now. Losing to the Knicks is a bad spot to lose. I mean, this is a Knicks team that isn't. I mean, they're not really in the playoff race. They're too far back from Atlanta. So like to see them lose here, I guess New York is playing spoiler at this point, but it's still just
Yeah.
such a bad loss to have at this point in the season.
really bad loss, and I thought that maybe some of these Bulls players would want to get up in the Garden, but it's just not. Just wasn't for them tonight, and they really the only place they struggled was like the second quarter, and that was really it. But um, DeMar DeRozan showed out. Zach LaVine balled out points wise. They just didn't get enough help off the bench, and that's really been the reason that this team has been struggling lately. They had a pretty solid small rotation, just didn't get the bench going at all. Tristan Thompson, Javante Green, Kobe White, all combined under 10 points. Caruso 3, 2, and 5 on the night, playing 30 minutes. That's a weird one. That's
No.
probably what cost them the game, honestly. Even though I love Caruso, that was a terrible stat line.
Yeah, that is a horrific stat line, for sure. I guess my main thing is that like if this team doesn't have Lonzo Ball back, they're not really competitors. I think they're a
Yeah,
solid team with Lonzo on the floor. It's just when Lonzo isn't there,
sure.
I don't know if they have enough firepower, honestly, which is weird to say about a team that has Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Vooch, but I don't know. Should be interesting.
Is
Kind
this
of. Oh, go
is
ahead.
this an actual? Is this just a good regular season team?
Yeah, I think so. I could definitely see it. Like, yeah, I could definitely see them being just a good regular season team.
Because
Um,
who has playoff experience, real playoff experience besides Demar? Nobody.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was just trying to think in my head, like, who else has it? Vooch doesn't have it. He was with Orlando for such a long time. You know, they weren't even sniffing the playoffs most years. Levine's really never had it, and Caruso had it, but I mean, not in this role that he's in now. And
Tristan, I guess.
I guess. I don't know. Should be interesting to see what this Bulls team does, but you're right. They definitely are. I would lean towards them being more of a regular season team. Let's tie in this Eastern Conference mess because that's really what this does. This game means to me is like what is going on in the Eastern Conference. We had two of the top teams in the Eastern Conference in the Heat and the Celtics play last night. Celtics
Mhm.
had the number one seed, or were at least tied for the number one seed coming into last night. They ended up sitting Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, both due to knee injuries. We already knew Robert Williams was out for this game.
Yeah.
So they were dealing with a lot of injuries here. Al Horford out for personal reasons as well.
Mhm.
Um, they end up losing to the Raptors, and it's an OT loss. I think it is what it is at the end of the day. But if you look at where it places them in the standings, does this feel a little intentional, man? The fact that now, if everything pans out the right way, right? We're so far away from the playoffs. I say so far away. We're like what 2 weeks away from the playoffs. But like if they end up facing the Bulls in the first round, isn't that the best matchup you can get right now at this spot?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I think that, I mean, so this is gonna, man, we're gonna say this, and then we're gonna have to revisit it tomorrow. But uh, there are some juggernaut games in the East this week specifically. I
No,
know we have the Heat have to match up against the Sixers, right, or the Celtics. I think it's the Celtics.
I think
So we'll
it's
see.
Celtics on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll have to see who actually plays for that game. I know the Bucks play the Sixers, and they also play the Nets later on in the week. I mean, this is yeah, like this is my favorite time of the year, and I've teased it so many times already. But these teams will intentionally do these things to kind of maneuver themselves around, and maybe they got a pretty. I mean, Brad Stevens is a smart guy. I know he's not the head coach at the moment for this team, but he still has, I'm sure, a direct impact on what's happening day in and day out there. So I would not be surprised if they sat their star players to get a good look at their bench to kind of see how guys like Tyson Grant Williams are going to play while Robert Williams is sidelined. And then they, this is an unlikely scenario, but there's still a chance that they could get the Raptors in a 7 or a 5 game series early on.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see them get that Raptors team. I mean, like Raptors aren't amazingly good, but they play pretty solid defense with Fred VanVleet, so would be interesting to watch for sure. Let's talk about the Heat team finally correcting their ways. They were on a really tough stretch for a while, where they were just losing against bad teams. You know, we saw them lose to the Nets by a lot. We saw them lose to the Knicks in that game where we saw Udonis Haslem and Jimmy Butler get into a fight. We saw them lose badly to the Warriors and the 76ers, but finally getting things back on track against the Kings with a 123 to 100 point win there. I really am excited for this Celtics game that we just talked about. Like seeing, as long as Brown and Tatum are healthy for that
Yeah.
Celtics game, um, I'm excited to see who can win that one, because that could really be very close to what we see in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Could be. It's going to be like, I'm just looking at this now. I know we have a lot more to cover, but how many teams in the East get 50 wins this season?
Hold on, I'm about to look. Ooh, probably four. I think the Celtics are probably, well, I don't know. I'm wondering how much these top teams face off against each other, because I know it's Bucks
Yeah.
and 76ers tonight. I know
hmm
it's Heat and Celtics tomorrow. Oh, I'm curious to go see. Let's see. Heat don't face off against any of the top teams. This is going to take a little bit to check out, but we'll still do it regardless. Bucks face off against the Celtics on the last day of the season. That's
Oh.
exciting. That's thrilling. That should be a lot of fun to watch. And then 76ers, I'm assuming 76ers don't get anyone. Yeah. So Celtics and Bucks have to match up for the last game of the year. That's probably going to be an ESPN game, most likely. I don't know. I would guess four teams, but definitely could be three. These top four teams are really solid and some of the best teams in the NBA right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a really scary first round. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
The tanking area is going to be pretty nuts, and that's kind of weird seeing that the Bucks and Celtics. There's probably no situation where they sit their starters for that game.
Yeah, should be a really fun game to watch. Anyway, let's keep rolling through everything that happened last night. Keep going through some of these scores. I'll take a little victory lap here. I know you already congratulated me on it in the good skill chat room, but how about those Grizzlies, man? Absolute domination against this Warriors team. Warriors missing Klay Thompson, missing Draymond Green. Obviously missing Steph for a little while as well. So clearly not full strength, but Grizzlies just absolutely dominated this game from pillar to post. They kind of had this one in the bag.
Yes, they did, and they've faced a lot of bad teams over the last 2 weeks, but they are 9-1 in their last 10. Three of those games being against the Nets and the Bucks on Saturday, and then obviously the Warriors last night. Warriors still good, man. I mean, they beat that Heat team with all of their reserves too. Let's not
Yep.
forget about that. So
Yeah.
the Grizzlies absolutely smashing at home. Now they have to take on a couple more tough teams on the road in the next week and a half, but should be really interesting to see where they actually end up. They obviously will be in that 50-win club, and I'm stoked for them. That's awesome for their franchise.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be really. I'm excited to watch them host a playoff game. I mean, the potential matchup right now looks like it could be that Timberwolves matchup, and like I've said before on this show, seeing them face off against the Timberwolves would be the most exciting thing,
Mm.
because of the rivalry between these two teams. It would just be a lot of fun to watch. I don't think it goes farther than six. I think the Grizzlies still have an advantage there, but it still would be a lot of fun to watch.
Do you
All right.
sit Ja? Do you sit Ja until things get bad?
Yeah, probably. I mean, so I saw the actual stat. What did I say yesterday? They're 17-3
17
without
and
Ja.
3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actual stat is 18-2 without Ja.
Oh,
So
okay.
like, it just I'm not gonna say they're an elite team without Ja. I think Ja Morant's very important to that team overall, obviously, but it just shows how well rounded that team is. And last night, we talk about how the Warriors are dealing with injuries. It's not like the Grizzlies weren't without a few guys. Obviously, Ja Morant, but we also got the news that Jaren Jackson was going to sit for that game. So, like,
Yeah.
there was multiple injuries for this Grizzlies team, and they were able to come out on top. So, I don't know. I'm still in the mindset of the Grizzlies being a very solid competitor in the playoffs, and potentially, I don't think they make the finals, but I think they could make the Western Conference Finals. So, it'll be fun to watch that team. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it rolling. Talking about this next game, which is the Spurs facing off against the Rockets. I want to highlight this game really quickly because with this win that the Spurs had, very close game. If you did not watch the last minute of this game, I would encourage you to go find it somewhere because Josh Christopher just turned unconscious from 3-point range for the whole last minute of the game. He made like 3 threes, and like 10-point lead that the Spurs had just absolutely evaporated. And Popovich was so angry. He was yelling at the players in the timeout. Like, it was a great game to watch. It was super exciting down the stretch. Spurs still obviously end up getting the win there, 123-120, like I said. But this Spurs team, in the 11 seed right now, a half of game out from the 10 seed, right behind the Lakers. And the Lakers have to face off against the Mavericks tonight, most likely without LeBron and without Anthony Davis. Both are listed as doubtful for tonight's game. So
Yep.
you could very well see this Spurs team in the playoffs or in the play-in tournament, at least if the playoffs started tonight, you could potentially see them in that 10 spot. So what's the likelihood of this Spurs team actually getting into the play-in tournament?
I think it's pretty real. I would say that LeBron is only going to miss maybe one game. If he misses more than one, then they're really screwed. But
Yeah.
the Spurs have a tough stretch outside of 2 games. Now, those 2 games are back-to-back against the Trailblazers. So that's going to be – this should be a cakewalk for them. We'll see. But the other games, they have to face the Warriors, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Timberwolves, Mavericks, so all playoff teams. Maybe those teams sit some players. Maybe they get by and squeak through into the plan, but it's going to be close. And this Spurs team was like 6 games back, like a week and a half ago. So this is going to be the only team that's because I think the Eastern Conference is pretty locked up for the most part. Yeah, the Hawks have a 5-game lead on the Knicks for the play-in. So yeah, I mean, I think the Spurs are really the only bubble team right now.
Yeah, it should
Which
be
it could be the
interesting.
Lakers tomorrow morning. It could by this time we could be saying the Lakers could be in the bubble spot.
Just again, bro, it's like I set myself up. Yesterday, wearing the championship shirt. Today, wearing the championship hoodie from 2020. It's a rough time to be a Lakers fan right now. Regardless, though, let's keep it moving and move on to actually last thing. And I guess I just want to speak to DeJounte Murray and how dominant he is overall. Had 33 points last night, a career high for him, which kind of shocked me. I feel like he's had more than 33 points somewhere, but 33 points is his career high. Really good night for him. 33 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds. I see this all the time on Twitter, and so we're gonna play a little fun game and chat. You can interact with it. Tell us what you think. We're gonna do start, bench, and cut for 3 players. One being Ja Morant, one being DeJounte Murray, and the other being Luka Doncic. Start, bench, and cut one.
Okay. Oh man. Well, my bias is definitely towards Murray. So I
Yeah.
have to kind of think about that. Start Luka, bench Murray, cut Ja.
Yeah, I feel like I'm either on the same side as you or like really, really close to saying start Murray. Brian agrees with you. I love Luca too, but man, Murray is just I think, you give Murray real talent on a team and he could be that guy. He could be
Mhm.
first team all pro, like all that stuff. Or all NBA, not all pro. This isn't the NFL. He could really be that next level guy. So I don't know. I'm excited about DeJounte Murray. I'm excited about the prospects. Everyone's saying start Luca, bench Ja. Or, well, Brankin says start Luca, bench Ja. Everyone's saying you can't not start Luca. I understand, man, but DeJounte has been next level. And I don't know. I'm excited to see how his career continues to progress because they truly have a stud there in him. All right, last game. The Tankathon matchup, the Tankathon championship between the Thunder and the Trailblazers as they faced off last night in a truly ugly game. We got the news right before this game locked that Trey Mann was going to be out. So just added to the ugliness that we had pursue in this Thunder and Trailblazers game. In true Thunder and Trailblazer fashion, they went to OT. Thunder ended up coming out on top. I mean, like, this Thunder team is so bad. Both of these teams are so bad. But we did see, we continue to see some promise from some of these Thunder prospects. Isaiah Roby had a really good night, 30 real life points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Theo Maledon, 23 real life points and 10 rebounds. And then Poku almost had a triple double with 11 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists. I continue to really like what this Thunder team puts out there. And I feel like, give them a few more years of development and, like, it's not that bad of a squad.
Yeah, I mean, they're building from the ground up, right? They still have double-digit picks remaining in their
Yeah.
next 3-4 years. So, yeah, I think that they do have some pieces. Shea has been injured the last 2 years, right? Like he hasn't finished a season yet. So that's interesting to see. But I think it might take a while for them to become any sort of a free agent destination. I think
Yeah.
they're just going to have to deal with these guys, and maybe they sneak into a play-in type of situation next season.
Yeah, should be interesting to watch. I think I agree with you that like they could sneak into that spot for sure. Bacon asked, do you think a lot of people pivoted to Theo after the news, or was he that high owned either way? I think he was that high owned either way. I think a lot of people were on
Yeah,
Theo Maladon, which was fine. He was a great play last night. Um, on the Trailblazer side, you don't have nearly as much star power, but we do see Drew Eubanks and Brandon Williams kind of progressing throughout the end of the year, right? Drew Eubanks specifically now getting this pure starting center spot without Trendon Wofford, without Greg Brown weighing him down, was able to put up 27 real life points and 14 rebounds. And then Brandon Williams had a night, 25 points, 12 assists for him. I don't know. I continue to not believe in Brandon Williams. I had to believe in him last night, and he gave me a 50 FanDuel point game. So maybe I'm a little bit more on the Brandon Williams train than I was before.
yeah. I still think that this is probably a really awesome fantasy environment for both teams against bad defenses, and then you get
Yeah.
baked in overtime with limited rotations. I mean, Drew Eubanks and Brandon Williams played 41 minutes last night, so that kind of gives you everything you need to know for how the season's going for them.
Yep, it sure does. Just running through, so we ran through the whole slate. Was a really fun slate to watch. We have another banger of a slate tonight. I think 5 games, 6 games, kind of in that sweet spot for Sean and I. So it'll be a lot of fun to break that one down. But just kind of want to go over some of the injuries because we had a ton of injury updates yesterday. We had some injuries happening during games too. We got obviously yesterday we found out Robert Williams tore his meniscus and is going to be out for at least a few weeks. Seems like they probably will get him back for the playoffs, but who knows when in the playoffs. Curry and Wiseman out for the Warriors. So the report on Curry is that he could potentially be back at the end of this regular season. So maybe helps that Warriors team with a slight end of season push. LeBron James and AD doubtful, like we said earlier on in the show. They face off against the Mavericks tonight. Going to be a really tough spot for that Lakers team. And they're on TNT. Man, I'm not watching that game most likely. SGA joined several Thunder players. He is ruled out for the rest of the season now. So we don't have to worry about, he used to be questionable and they would usually rule him out. Now we know he's just out. Cavs took another blow last night, and a big one too. Evan Mobley is going to be out with an ankle sprain. Who knows for how long? But it was a bad ankle sprain. I actually saw that. I saw it on Twitter. I saw a replay of it. Not pretty. I'm curious to see how long he's going to be out, but we know how much of a key piece he is to this offense. We know he's been a stud of a rookie this season. So I'm very curious to see what happens with Evan Mobley. Then we also got the news Jeremy Grant going to miss the rest of the season for this Pistons team. Made sense. It doesn't seem there's no reason to play him. So any thoughts on any of these injuries, Jared, before we move on?
Uh, just the Evan Mobley one. That just keep an eye on that one. That's kind of a scary thing for them, because I did see that Jared Allen declined getting surgery to possibly come back for the playoffs to play for them. So
No.
maybe it's just a small ankle sprain, but if it lingers any farther, I think that the Cavs are in some deep trouble.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that Mobley injury. And, they're going to be in a tough spot. They're going to be facing off in a pretty tough matchup. Right now, they are slated to face off against, hold on, looking right now. They are slated to face off against the Bucks in the first round. So, really tough matchup to have first up. Obviously, that can change before the playoffs actually end up happening, but that's where they are right now. So, should be interesting to keep track. And who knows? Nets are 3 games back, but there's around 6 games left for all these teams. They could definitely climb up and take that 7 seed away from them. And then,
Yep.
who knows if Allen and Mobley are injured for a long time, maybe the Hawks can capitalize on that 10 seed and end up winning in the play-in tournament.
Sure.
Lots of potential options for this Cavs team, and it'll be interesting to see them during playoff time. All right, anything else NBA wise? If not, we have some UFC to talk about since we didn't get the chance yesterday.
Nope. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I did. You get to? I think you said yesterday you didn't watch any other sports, so I'm assuming you did
Nope.
not tune in for this one.
I did not know.
Spicy, man. A great card. Lots of fun to watch. Card started out really poor for members. We had David Dvorak, who ended up losing in a unanimous decision and lost pretty badly. Didn't do much in that unanimous decision. Then we had Mannion Fioriot. I can never say her name. She's a absolute beast though in that featherweight division, not featherweight, in that flyweight division. She looked really good against Jennifer Maia. She's now probably on her way to a title challenge or title contender role at the very least. We saw Kazuriev face off against Dennis Tulin. I don't know if you heard about this at all, but like they literally, his main opponent that he had ended up backing out, and then they could not find anyone to face off against him. So finally, Dennis Tulin said, "You know what? I know I'm gonna." He basically said to the promotion, like, "I know I'm going to lose this fight. Just give me this one, and then I'll do better on the next one." And so they gave it to him. He did not look bad. He actually showed some promise. Ended up getting submitted by a rear naked choke though in the second round. That was good for us. We had Kazuriev by submission, and we had the under. So good break there. We saw Neil Magny get a big win against Max Griffin. That was an extremely close fight, but Neil Magny looks like that next level guy. We saw Kai Kara France end up getting a big win against Askar Askarov, taking away his 0. Kai Kara France now in potential title challenge conversation based on whoever wins between Figgy and Moreno. But he's been on a fantastic run. We saw Bam Bam Brian Barberena face off against Matt Brown in the People's Championship of this week. Really fun fight to watch. Both of these guys are like 40 years old, so it was just a slugfest the whole time. And Brian Barberena ended up getting the win by split decision, which was really good for members. We needed that. And then last fight, the main event between Curtis Blades and Chris Daukaus. I think everyone was thinking that Chris Daukaus was going to stick around for a little bit, and Curtis Blades knocked his lights out very early in the second round. The resurgence of Curtis Blades is on, and maybe we see him in a title challenge spot soon. But after he lost to Derek Lewis, we know he took a huge step back, and back-to-back wins. Pretty good win against Chris Daukaus. I'd be interested to see who they put him up against next, because I could see a Stipe Miocic type fight for Curtis Blades up next if Stipe is still going to fight, and I would love to see that. So really interesting week. It was fun having another fight night in like outside of Vegas. I don't know if you knew it, but like this one was in Columbus, Ohio. Chris Daukaus from Columbus, Ohio, so that's why they had it here. That's why he was on the main event. It's just good to see crowds out there, man. Like these fights are a lot more fun. You get them in the bigger octagon. You always have to consider like octagon size when you're going between Vegas and between other spots for the UFC. And it was a good time. It was a lot of fun to watch. There was good attendance and good fights overall.
Yeah, I'm watching the classic Herb Dean not stopping the fight fast enough.
Oh yeah.
That happened. He probably stopped it 2 punches late.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of embarrassing to get all hyped up for your own event in your own hometown and then lose like that.
He's just like so not on that level. Like I hate to be mean to Chris Daukaus because like obviously we've talked about it before. Like I don't want to be mean to any of these MMA guys because they could kick my ass any given day of the week. But like he's so not on that level of elite heavyweights. He had like a few good wins and like really got promoted by his win against Alexei Oleinik, but like that's not a lot anymore. Like Oleinik is halfway out the door essentially. So I don't know. They give him a really bad matchup for this one. It's kind of sad that they did give him a bad matchup in Columbus. You think that they'd at least give him a little bit of a favorable matchup, but no. Daukaus just isn't on that level. So I'm curious to see who he gets next because he'll always be a guy that's solid in that mid-range of the division. He'll just never take that next step up to the elite heavyweights.
Yeah, makes sense. Do we have a card this week or are we going straight to the pay-per-view next week?
No, straight to the pay-per-view, man. We get the week off and then UFC 273 is right around the corner. This one is a banger, man. I mean, you have the rematch between Jan and Sterling. We have so many good fights up and down the card. It is going to be so much fun to watch. I'm thrilled about this UFC 273 event.
I am as well. I'm actually know like almost the entire main card, so that's cool.
Nice. Yeah. We get to see Khamzat Shemaev fighting on the main card, and we get to see him up against Gilbert Burns. Like, he's like a minus 800 favorite, too. One of the most ridiculous lines I've ever seen, but well deserved. Alexei Oleinik gets the fight in this one because he didn't get the fight in Columbus. That's where he's supposed to fight, but Ilir Latifi ended up getting hurt. Or got sick, so they're gonna fight on this one instead. We get to see Ian Gary, who I don't know if you know who Ian Gary is, but like lots of hype around maybe being the next Conor McGregor, hype wise out of Ireland. Conor McGregor really likes him, so that one's gonna be fun. Drazinia Rosenstrike versus Marcin Tybura. You get to see Mickey Gall. Everyone loves some good Mickey Gall action. Vince Pichel, Mr. Mustache, like. Oh, so many good fights, man. And then on the top, you have Volkanovski facing off against the Korean Zombie. I mean, it's going to be a banger of a card. Maybe we'll bring it back to Watch Party. I don't know. The thing that's very difficult about this card is that we have MLB opening day on Thursday. Then we obviously have MLB content on Friday. And then Saturday we have this card. And then Sunday we have a F1 race too. So it's going to be a very, very fun week of sports. But maybe we'll bring back the Watch Party. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we also have Sean's last weekend of providing ever. So
oh yeah, so
it's there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time.
Yeah, lots and lots of stuff going on. Act like I'm busy. I'm not acting like I'm busy. I am busy. All right, let's keep it moving. Move on to the NFL news that we have. Kind of a short segment here, but still some interesting things that popped up, especially this morning with news about Cam Newton. This is not what I thought you had on this board, but I don't know if you heard this one. Cam Newton is going to be starting a 7-on-7 tournament with Overtime, who's doing the basketball stuff now. But they're going to do a 7-on-7 league that's supposed to appeal to college players or something. I don't know. Adam Schefter tweeted out about it this morning, and I was floored.
What?
Yeah,
okay. I didn't hear that part, but that's stupid. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little silly. You'll have to go check it out because that's what I thought you had written up here, and you actually have Panthers open to Cam Newton return. I don't think he's returning. I think he's committing to this 7-on-7 stuff.
Ew. Okay. Well, I'll look into that. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that tomorrow. Let me rage for a little bit as we get the news this morning that Niners have no plan for Jimmy G yet. Not planning on releasing him because John Lynch says he's not that type of player. He's too good to release. And, Shanahan even said some potential stuff about potentially starting him. So I said on Twitter, I'm a very mad 49ers fan right now because this has just gone exactly the opposite way of what you wanted it to, or what I wanted it to. I mean, there was points at the end of the season when we were talking about Jimmy G should command the return of a second round pick at the very least. Big thing that happened though here was, I don't know if you knew about all this, but like he went into shoulder surgery very close to like the free agency window. And so he can't throw for like 3 whole months. He can't even pick up a football for a while right now. And that's a big reason why teams don't want him is because they can't see him throw right now. And that's concerning. So, like, Jimmy G kind of fucked over the Niners, and I'm pretty pissed off about
it. Yeah, I would be as well. I just want that situation to move on, right? Like, that's really all we're looking for here.
I just want Trey Lance, man. That's all I want. I don't think I'm asking for too much with asking for Trey Lance. So,
no, you're not asking for too much. I just feel like, Kyle Shanahan at the end of the day is probably the most stubborn head coach in the league.
Really? I mean, you're 100% right about that. The thing that makes me upset about it is the fact that not only did we not do something with him and get some return, but even if we did end up releasing him, it's not a lot of dead cap room. It's actually a pretty favorable contract for the Niners. If they end up releasing him, like, you could go sign a big free agent. You could have, Tyrann Mathieu still someone that I keep seeing, not signed with anyone yet. And, like that helps out that secondary a ton. Like, I don't know, man. I wish something would happen here because I am on the edge of my seat waiting to see what's going to happen. I really hope that, I don't think anyone will trade for him. I hope we end up cutting him before training camp, but I don't think we will.
I don't think you will either. Sounds like they have the 2 guys that they want. Is there any kind of situation where they would actually they're not going to start Lance and bench Jimmy. It's just not going to be a thing.
It doesn't feel like, yeah, like I feel like Shanahan just likes Jimmy too much to do that. So I don't know. They were asking Shanahan in a press conference yesterday to name a starter, and obviously he said no, he wouldn't because
It's
he never.
March.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Like he was like, it's March. We're not even in training camp yet. He's never announced a starter before week one, and he's
Yeah.
like, I never will announce a starter before week one. Um, Brian says if they don't start Lance, I'm rioting. I feel the same way. I'm ready to see the Trey Lance show, and I'm hoping it's this week or this year. All right, last thing. Giants haven't made any trade calls to trade away Barkley quite yet. Do you think they actually do this? This felt like a BS headline throughout the offseason. I never bought
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, why would you trade Barkley at possibly one of his lowest points in his career? This doesn't make sense. So,
You're really selling low on this type of play, and he's got to be better this year, in my opinion. So I think it's kind of silly. I don't think they will trade him. Brian says, so are we going to wait till Lance's fourth year to see what he has? That's kind of my thing, is that like the whole point of drafting a rookie quarterback is that way so you can, and with like a team that's contending, is that way so you can use them right away or at least sit them for 1 year and then use them and take advantage of that cheap contract, because that's the big thing with rookie quarterbacks, right? Or like young quarterbacks, is that using that cheap contract really helps you fill out the rest of your roster with the salary cap and all, and they're just not able to do that because Jimmy G keeps being there. And so I don't know. Should be interesting to see how everything turns out. Any other NFL news for you, Jared? If not, we're going to keep it on moving.
no, I actually don't have anything right now.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it moving. Talk about spring training. Like we said at the beginning of the show, 9 days away from the regular season, from opening day, and it's we get salaries out on FanDuel. Should have them soon on DraftKings. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. I'm excited. But let's talk about some news that we got from the MLB. Chris Archer signs a 1-year deal with the Twins. Phillies prep for a tough start to the season due to some injuries, and the Padres' Clevinger prepares to take the mound after his second Tommy John surgery. So you see that that Padres rotation looking pretty solid at this point with Snell and Darvish and Musgrove and now Clevinger as well. I don't know. What do you think about this Padres team?
Yeah, we have our power rankings coming out soon, and I
Ooh, yeah.
probably did them a disservice. But until they showed, like, they really dipped off hard last year. So
Yeah.
without Tatis to start the year, I think I have them at number 16 or 17.
Oh, interesting. Should be. I don't know. I don't know if I rank them that low. I probably get them a few spots higher. You say Phillies prep for a tough start to the season. I know someone got injured, right? Who got injured though?
That's a great question. I clicked off of it. I read it this morning, and then I clicked off. So
I
I will.
literally saw it while I was looking through salaries this morning. That's how I remember seeing it. I feel like it was someone in the
Oh,
rotation.
I mean, this is maybe the headline's a little bit
Misleading.
misleading, but Zach Wheeler has been dealing with off-season shoulder soreness on his throwing arm.
Oh.
He hasn't had much spring training stuff at all this year. And then Ranger Suarez had visa issues, so he hasn't been able to pitch this year yet.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that's going to be something to keep an eye on because they do have one of the strongest starting rotations. So if those guys are a little bit shaky to start the year, that could be certainly concerning.
Yeah, definitely could be concerning. I'm trying to find where your power rankings are. Did you delete them?
No, it's in
Uh,
another chat probably.
yeah, it's probably somewhere where I don't
My
know.
San Diego Padres are 16. That's what I said.
Where do you have the Phillies?
I have the Phillies at number 11.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was thinking about putting them. So that's a pretty solid spot. All right. Yeah, not much else to talk about with the MLB. Like we said, season coming up soon. So make sure to, if you want to sign up for MLB, shoot Jared or I a message. We can end up getting you in the chat room and getting you some spring training action because Corn's been kicking ass and taking names in spring training with spring training DFS. And he's going to continue to do it as long as they're going to keep offering him contests.
Exactly. Yep. And we keep having people take the top five in GPPs. It's amazing to watch. I'm doing my research here to start the year off. Now that we have things 9 days early, it feels really good to look at it.
Yeah, it feels definitely very good to look at it. Really quick, Jared. Let's get NHL Blind Dogs in. Don't know how we did yesterday, but I would feel like it's a disservice at this point not to do NHL Blind Dogs, even though we are a little bit over time today. I'm gonna pull it up while you get your pick in.
Yeah, I know how I did. I actually won by 1 goal yesterday, so that's cool.
Nice.
I've been tailing the Buffalo Sabres hard, which I don't think I can do today since they're not playing. So I'll have to find somebody else, and I will go with the. I know that this is going to be a close game, but let's take the Colorado Avalanche in a high-scoring 6.5 total, plus 106 on the road.
All right, I like it. The Hurricanes absolutely smashed the Capitals yesterday. My goodness, I had the Capitals in that side, and they lost 6-1. So not a good way to start out the week for me. I guess if they're playing well, we're just going to go to them. Let's take Hurricanes away from home against the Tampa Bay Lightning, plus 122. Going to support my home team, I guess. Jared, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, we just have 9 days to go until the MLB regular season, and we have a lot of stuff prepared for it. That starts next week.
Yep. Going to be some exciting things returning. Some things that we talked about, some things that we haven't talked about yet. So it's going to be a good time for MLB. We can't wait for it. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.